Hare Krishna. Welcome back, everybody, to the live studios here at Radha Lane, right next to Sri Sri Radha Neelamadhava Mandir, ISKCON of Houston, Texas. So we're moving through the Bhagavad-gita. Yesterday, the last 2 days, we read the 9th chapter, the most confidential knowledge. We heard about how this knowledge is the king of education, how it's the perfection of religion. We've heard how it's joyfully performed. We heard how Krishna is pervading everything. At the same time, he's aloof from everything and the source of everything. We heard how persons who deride him when he comes in his original form on the earth, they got problems, and everything they try to do fails, which is pretty much why the world's failing at the moment. Then we learned how the Mahatma, or the great souls, are actually protected by the divine nature. We heard how if we worship demigods, we go to the demigods. If we worship ghosts and spirits, we go to that kind of birth. If we worship, the Lord, then we go to the planet of the Lord. We learned how even if we do something wrong, if we are fixed in devotional service, and the actions of the Mahatma is that he always chants, always offers obeisances, always performs devotional service. And at the end, we found out that what Krishna really wants is just that we remember him, bow down to him, offer our respects to him, and that's all he wants. So now we're into the 10th chapter, where Krishna is going to give more details of his glories to Arjuna, to increase his devotion, to increase his desire, to increase his interest. And all of us. He's not just talking to Arjuna, he's talking to everyone from now on. But before we get into the 10th chapter, we're going to read the Mangalacharna prayers of Srila Prabhupada before he started the Bhagavad-gita as it is. It goes like this. Om Jnana Timidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who is established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam Scha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatan Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopal Bhatta and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivasa, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishaka. He Krishna, Karuna Sindho, Dinabandho Jagatpate, Gopisha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namostute. O my dear Krishna, ocean of mercy, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the cowherd men and the lover of the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Divi Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and they are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. I offer my obeisances to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivas, and all others in the line of devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right. Bhagavad-gita as it is. Chapter 10. Somehow or other I've lost the Sanskrit. Maybe I better go to the text settings. Maybe I better go somewhere else. How interesting. I'll read from here. Fix that later. Okay. Okay. Bhagavad-gita as it is. Chapter 10. Text 1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bhuya eva Mahabaho Shrinu me paramam vachaha Yatteham priyamanaya Bhakshami hitakam yaya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna, because you are my dear friend. For your benefit, I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained." Purport. The word Bhagavan is explained thus by Parashara Muni. One who is full in 6 opulences, who has full strength, full fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation, is Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While Krishna was present on this earth, he displayed all 6 opulences. Therefore, great sages like Parashara Muni have all accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, Krishna is instructing Arjuna in more confidential knowledge of his opulences and his work. Previously, beginning with the 7th chapter, the Lord has already explained his different energies and how they are acting. Now in this chapter, he explains his specific energies, his specific opulences to Arjuna. In the previous chapter, he has clearly explained his different energies to establish devotion in firm conviction. Again, in this chapter, he tells Arjuna about his manifestations and various opulences. The more one hears about the Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. One should always hear about the Lord in the association of the devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. Discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. The Lord clearly tells Arjuna that because Arjuna is very dear to him, for his benefit, such discourses are taking place. Text 2. Na me vidu suragana prabhabang na maharshaya aham adir hidevanam maharshinam jasarvashaha. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. Purport. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. No one is greater than him. He is the cause of all causes. Here it is also stated by the Lord personally that he is the cause of all the demigods and sages. Even the demigods and great sages cannot understand Krishna. They can understand neither his name nor his personality. So what is the position of these so-called scholars of this tiny planet? No one can understand why this Supreme God comes to earth as an ordinary human being and executes such wonderful, uncommon activities. One should know then that scholarship is not the qualification necessary to understand Krishna. Even the demigods and great sages have tried to understand Krishna by their mental speculation, and they have failed to do so. In the Srimad Bhagavatam also it is clearly said that even the great demigods are not able to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They can speculate to the limits of their imperfect senses and can reach the conclusion of impersonalism or something opposite to what is manifested by these three qualities of material nature, or they can imagine something by mental speculation. But it is not possible to understand Krishna by such foolish speculation. Here the Lord indirectly says that if anyone wants to know the absolute truth, here I am present as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am the Supreme. One should know this. Although one cannot understand the inconceivable Lord who is personally present, he nonetheless exists. We can actually understand Krishna, who is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, simply by studying his words in Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. The conception of God as some ruling power or as the impersonal Brahman can be reached by persons who are in the inferior energy of the Lord. But the personality of Godhead cannot be conceived unless one is in the transcendental position. Because most men cannot understand Krishna in his actual situation, out of his causeless mercy, he descends to show favor to such speculators. Yet despite the Supreme Lord's uncommon activities, these speculators, due to contamination in the material energy, still think that the impersonal Brahman is the Supreme. Only the devotees who were fully surrendered unto the Supreme Lord can understand, by the grace of the Supreme Personality, that he is Krishna. The devotees of the Lord do not bother about the impersonal Brahman conception of God. Their faith and devotion bring them to surrender immediately to the Supreme Lord, and out of the causeless mercy of Krishna, they can understand Krishna. No one else can understand him. So even great sages agree. What is Atma? What is the Supreme? It is he whom we have to worship. Text 3. Yomam ajamanadim cha vetiloka maheshwaram asamudak samartyeshu sarvapapai pramuchyate. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the Supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only, undiluted among men, is free from all sins. Purport. As stated in the 7th chapter, Manushanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Yatiti Siddha Ye. Those who are trying to elevate themselves to the platform of spiritual realization are not ordinary men. They are superior to millions and millions of ordinary men who have no knowledge of spiritual realization. But out of those actually trying to understand their spiritual situation, one who can come to the understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the proprietor of everything, the unborn, is the most successful, spiritually realized person. In that stage only, when one has fully understood Krishna's supreme position, can one be free completely from all sinful reactions. Here the Lord is described by the word aja, meaning unborn. But he is distinct from the living entities who are described in the 2nd chapter as aja. The Lord is different from the living entities who are taking birth and dying due to material attachment. The conditioned souls are changing their bodies, but his body is not changeable. Even when he comes to this material world, he comes as the same, unborn. Therefore, in the 4th chapter it is said that the Lord, by his internal potency, is not under the inferior material energy, but is always in the superior energy. In this verse, the words Veti Loka Maheshwaram indicate that one should know that Lord Krishna is the supreme proprietor of the planetary systems of the universe. He was existing before the creation. He is different from the creation. All the demigods were created within this material world. But as far as Krishna is concerned, it is said that he is not created. Therefore, Krishna is different, even from the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva. And because he is the creator of Brahma, Shiva, and all the other demigods, he is the supreme person of all planets. Sri Krishna is therefore different from everything that is created, that anyone who knows him as such immediately becomes liberated from all sinful reactions. One must be liberated from all sinful activities to be in the knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Only by devotional service can he be known, and not by any other means, as stated in Bhagavad-gita. One should not try to understand Krishna as a human being. As stated previously, only a foolish person thinks him to be a human being. This is again expressed here in a different way. A man who is not foolish, who is intelligent enough to understand the constitutional position of the Godhead, is always free from all sinful reactions. If Krishna is known as the son of Devaki, then how can he be unborn? That is also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. When he appeared before Devaki and Vasudeva, he was not born as an ordinary child. He appeared in his original form, and then he transformed himself into an ordinary child. Anything done under the direction of Krishna is transcendental. It cannot be contaminated by material reactions, which may be auspicious or inauspicious. The conception that there are things auspicious and inauspicious in the material world is more or less a mental concoction, because there is nothing auspicious in the material world. Everything is inauspicious because the very material nature is inauspicious. We simply imagine it to be auspicious. Real auspiciousness depends on activities in Krishna consciousness in full devotion and service. Therefore, if we at all want our activities to be auspicious, then we should work under the directions of the Supreme Lord. Such directions are given in the authoritative scriptures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gita, or from a bona fide spiritual master. Because the spiritual master is the representative of the Supreme Lord, his direction is directly the direction of the Supreme Lord. The spiritual master, saintly persons, and scriptures direct in the same way. There is no contradiction in these three sources. All actions done under such direction are free from the reactions of pious or impious activities of this material world. The transcendental attitude of the devotee in the performance of activities is actually that of renunciation. And this is called sannyasa. As stated in the first verse of the 6th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, one who acts as a matter of duty because he has been ordered to do so by the Supreme Lord, and who does not seek shelter in the fruits of his activities, anashrita, karmapalam, is a true renouncer. Anyone acting under the direction of the Supreme Lord is actually a sannyasi and a yogi, and not the man who has simply taken the dress of the sannyasi, or a pseudo-yogi. Text 4 and 5. Buddhir jnanam asamoha chama satyam dhamma shamaha sukham dukkam bhavo bhavo bhayam cha bhayameva cha ahimsa samatat tushtis tapodhanam yasho yashaha bhavanti bhava bhutanam mata eva pritag vidaha. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. Purport: the different qualities of living entities, be they good or bad, are all created by Krishna, and they are described here. Intelligence refers to the power to analyze things in their proper perspective, and knowledge refers to understanding what is spirit and what is matter. Ordinary knowledge obtained by a university education pertains only to matter, and it is not accepted here as knowledge. Knowledge means knowing the distinction between spirit and matter. In modern education, there is no knowledge about spirit. They are simply taking care of the material elements and bodily needs. Therefore, academic knowledge is not complete. Asamoha, freedom from doubt and delusion, can be achieved when one is not hesitant and when he understands the transcendental philosophy. Slowly but surely, he becomes free from bewilderment. Nothing should be accepted blindly. Everything should be accepted with care and caution. Chama, tolerance, and forgiveness should be practiced. One should be tolerant and excuse the minor offenses of others. Satyam, truthfulness, means that facts should be presented as they are for the benefit of others. Facts should not be misrepresented. According to social conventions, it is said that one can speak the truth only when it is palatable to others. But that is not truthfulness. The truth should be spoken in a straightforward way so that others will understand actually what the facts are. If a man is a thief, and if people are warned that he is a thief, that is truth. Although sometimes the truth is unpalatable, one should not refrain from speaking it. Truthfulness demands that the facts be presented as they are for the benefit of others. That is the definition of truth. Control of the senses means that the senses should not be used for unnecessary personal enjoyment. There is no prohibition against meeting the proper needs of the senses, but unnecessary sense enjoyment is detrimental for spiritual advancement. Therefore, the senses should be restrained from unnecessary use. Similarly, one should restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts. That is called shama. One should not spend one's time pondering over earning money. That is a misuse of the thinking power. The mind should be used to understand the prime necessity of human beings, and that should be presented authoritatively. The power of thought should be developed in association with persons who are authorities in scriptures, saintly persons, and spiritual masters, and those whose thinking is highly developed. Sukham, pleasure or happiness, should always be in that which is favorable for the cultivation of the spiritual knowledge of Krishna consciousness. And similarly, that which is painful or which causes distress is that which is unfavorable for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness. Anything favorable for the development of Krishna consciousness should be accepted, and anything unfavorable should be rejected. Bhava, birth, should be understood to refer to the body. As far as the soul is concerned, there is neither birth nor death. That we have discussed in the beginning of the Bhagavad-gita. Birth and death apply to one's embodiment in the material world. Fear is due to worrying about the future. A person in Krishna consciousness has no fear, because by his activities he is sure to go back to the spiritual sky, back home, back to Godhead. Therefore his future is very bright. Others, however, who do not know what their future holds, They have no knowledge of what the next life holds, so they are therefore in constant anxiety. If we want to get free from anxiety, then the best course is to understand Krishna and be situated always in Krishna consciousness. In that way we will be free from all fear. In the Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated, Bhayam dvitiya bini vineshat syat. Fear is caused by our absorption in the illusory energy. But those who are free from the illusory energy, those who are confident that they are not the material body, that they are spiritual parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who are therefore engaged in the transcendental service of the Supreme Godhead, have nothing to fear. Their future is very bright. This fear is a condition of persons who are not in Krishna consciousness. Abhayam, fearlessness, is possible only for one in Krishna consciousness. Ahimsa, non-violence, means that one should not do anything that will put others into misery or confusion. Material activities that are promised by so many politicians, sociologists, philanthropists, so on, do not produce very good results, because the politicians and philanthropists have no transcendental vision. They do not know what is actually beneficial for human society. Ahimsa means that one should be trained in such a way that the full utilization of the human body can be achieved. The human body is meant for spiritual realization, so any movement or any commissions which do not further that end commit violence on the human body. That which furthers the future spiritual happiness of the people in general is called non-violence. Samatha, equanimity, refers to freedom from attachment and aversion. To be very much attached or to be very much detached is not the best. This material world should be accepted without attachment or aversion. That which is favorable for prosecuting Krishna consciousness should be accepted. That which is unfavorable should be rejected. That is called samatha, equanimity. A person in Krishna consciousness has nothing to reject and nothing to accept, save in terms of its usefulness in the prosecution of Krishna consciousness. Tushti, satisfaction means that one should not be eager to gather more and more material goods by unnecessary activity. One should be satisfied with whatever is obtained by the grace of the Supreme Lord. That is called satisfaction. Tapas means austerity or penance. There are many rules and regulations in the Vedas which apply here, like rising early in the morning and taking a bath. Sometimes it is very troublesome to rise early in the morning, but whatever voluntary trouble one must suffer in this way is called penance. Similarly, there are prescriptions for fasting on certain days of the month. One may not be inclined to practice such fasting, but because of his determination to make advancement in the science of Krishna consciousness, one should accept such bodily troubles when they are recommended. However, one should not fast unnecessarily or against Vedic injunctions. One should not fast for some political purpose. That is described in Bhagavad-gita as fasting in ignorance. And anything done in ignorance or passion does not lead to spiritual advancement. Everything done in the mode of goodness does advance one, however, and fasting done in terms of the Vedic injunctions enriches one in spiritual knowledge. As far as charity is concerned, one should give 50% of his earnings for some good cause. And what is a good cause? It is that which is conducted in terms of Krishna consciousness. That is not only a good cause, but the best cause. Because Krishna is good, his cause is also good. Thus, charity should be given to a person who is engaged in Krishna consciousness. According to Vedic literature, it is enjoined that charity should be given to the Brahmanas. This practice is still followed, although not very nicely in terms of the Vedic injunctions. But still, the injunction is that charity should be given to the Brahmanas. Why? Because they are engaged in higher cultivation of spiritual knowledge. A Brahmana is supposed to devote his whole life to understanding Brahman. Brahma janatiti Brahmana. One who knows Brahman is called a Brahmana. Thus, charity is offered to the Brahmanas because they are always engaged in higher spiritual service and have no time to earn their livelihood. In the Vedic literature, charity is also to be awarded to one in the renounced order of life, the sannyasi. The sannyasis beg from door to door, not for money, but for missionary purposes. The system is that they go from door to door to awaken the householders from the slumber of ignorance. Because the householders are engaged in family affairs, they have forgotten their actual purpose in life, awakening their Krishna consciousness. It is the business of the sannyasis to go as beggars to the householders and encourage them to be Krishna conscious. As it is said in the Vedas, one should awake and achieve what is due to him in this human form of life. This knowledge and method is distributed by the sannyasis. Hence, charity is to be given to the renouncer of life, to the Brahmanas, and similar good causes, not to any whimsical cause. Yashas, fame, should be according to Lord Chaitanya, who said that a man is famous when he is known as a great devotee. That is real fame. If one has become a great man in Krishna consciousness and it is known, then he is truly famous. One who does not have such fame is infamous. All these qualities are manifest throughout the universe in human society and in the society of the demigods. There are many forms of humanity on other planets, and these qualities are there. Now, for one who wants to advance in Krishna consciousness, Krishna creates all these qualities, but the person develops them from within. One who engages in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord develops all the good qualities as arranged by the Supreme Lord. Of whatever we find, good or bad, the origin is Krishna. Nothing can manifest itself in this material world which is not in Krishna. That is knowledge. Although we know that things are differently situated, we should realize that everything flows from Krishna. Text 6. Maharshayak saptapurve chatvaro manavastata madbhava manasajata yesham loka ima prajaha. The 7 great sages, and before them the 4 other great sages, and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, come from me, born from my mind, and all the living beings populating the various planets descend from them. Purport. The Lord is giving a genealogical synopsis of the universal population. Brahma is the original creature born out of the energy of the Supreme Lord, who is known as Hiranyagarbha. And from Brahma, all the 7 great sages, and before them the 4 other great sages, named Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara, and the 4 Manus, and the 14 Manus are manifested. All these 25 great sages are known as the patriarchs of living entities all over the universe. There are innumerable universes and innumerable planets within each universe, and each planet is full of population of different varieties. All of them are born of these 25 patriarchs. Brahma underwent penance for 1,000 years of the demigods before he realized, by the grace of Krishna, how to create. Then from Brahma came Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara, then Rudra, and then the 7 sages. And in this way, all the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are born out of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma is known as Pitamaha, the grandfather, and Krishna is known as Pratitamaha, the father of the grandfather. That is stated in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. Text 7. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo viditat pataha so vikalpina yogena yujyate natra sangshayaha. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. Purport. The highest summit of spiritual perfection is knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless one is firmly convinced of the different opulences of the Supreme Lord, he cannot engage in devotional service. Generally, people know that God is great, but they do not know in detail how God is great. Here are the details. If one knows factually how God is great, then naturally he becomes a surrendered soul and engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord. When one factually knows the opulences of the Supreme, there is no alternative but to surrender to Him. This factual knowledge can be known from the descriptions in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gita and similar literatures. In the administration of this universe, there are many demigods distributed throughout the planetary system, and the chief of them are Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the 4 great Kumaras, and the other patriarchs. There are many forefathers of the population of the universe, and all of them are born of the Supreme Lord Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original forefather of all forefathers. These are some of the opulences of the Supreme Lord. When one is firmly convinced of them, he accepts Krishna with great faith and without any doubt, and he engages in devotional service. All this particular knowledge is required in order to increase one's interest in the loving devotional service of the Lord. One should not neglect to understand fully how great Krishna is, for by knowing the greatness of Krishna, one will be able to be fixed in sincere devotional service. Text 8. Now these next 4 verses are very important. These are the 4 seed verses of the Bhagavatam, and they correspond to the 4 seed verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam that was given by Lord Brahma in the beginning of the creation, from which the Bhagavatam was then expanded. Text 8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Purport. A learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya and who knows how to apply these teachings can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Lord, of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. All Vedic literature agrees that Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. In the Atharva Veda, Gopal Tapani Upanishad, it is said, Yo Brahmanam vididhati purvam, yo vai vidangscha gapayati sma Krishna. It was Krishna who in the beginning instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge and who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. Then again, the Narayana Upanishad says, Ata Purusho Navai Narayano Kama Yata Praja Srijayati. Then the Supreme Personality Narayana desired to create living entities. The Upanishad continues, and I'll skip this Sanskrit. From Narayana, Brahma is born, and from Narayana, the patriarchs are also born. From Narayana, Indra is born. From Narayana, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayana, the 11 Rudras are born. From Narayana, the 12 Adityas are born. This Narayana is an expansion of Krishna. It is said in the same Vedas, Brahmanyo Devaki Putra, the son of Devaki, Krishna, is the Supreme Personality. Then it is said, Eko vai Narayana asin na Brahma na Ishano napo nagni somao nemidwao apritivi nanak chatrani nasuriyaha. In the beginning of the creation, there was only the Supreme Personality, Narayana. There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no water, no fire, no moon, no heaven and earth, no stars in the sky, no sun. In the Maha Upanishad, it is also said that Lord Shiva was born from the forehead of the Supreme Lord. Thus the Vedas say that it is the Supreme Lord, the creator of Brahma and Shiva, who is to be worshipped. In the Moksha Dharma section of the Mahabharata, Krishna also says, Prajapatim charudrim chapyaham eva srijami va tau himam nabijani to mama maya vimohitao. The patriarchs, Shiva and others, are created by me, although they do not know that they are created by me, because they are deluded by my illusory energy. In the Varaha Purana it is also said, Narayana paro devas tasmaj jatas chatramukha tasmat rudrobavid deva sachafasarva kyatam gataha. Narayana is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, from whom Shiva was born. Lord Krishna is the source of all generations, and he is called the most efficient cause of everything. He says, because everything is born of me, I am the original source of all. Everything is under me. No one is above me. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna. One who understands Krishna in such a way from a bona fide spiritual master with references from Vedic literature engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness and becomes a truly learned man. In comparison to him, all others who do not know Krishna properly are but fools. Only a fool would consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. A Krishna-conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad-gita and proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness. Text 9. We're missing our saint. She's going away. Okay. Hare Krishna. Working in the restaurant? Huh? On the altar. She's going to see Krishna. Say hello to him for us and remind him that we're here and we're thinking about him. He already knows that, actually. Yeah. Our doctor, Hari Balaba, Dr. Pokala, is going to ask a question.
Here and just now we can this Narayana is the supreme personal Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, from whom Shiva was born.
He's questioning the statement that's being quoted in the last purport we read, that it says that from Krishna, from Narayana, Brahma was born, and then from Brahma, Shiva was born. You're questioning how that is?
Can you explain, because our understanding at least was that when Mahavishnu danced on the material energy, Shiva appears.
He didn't manifest then. When Mahavishnu glances, he injects all the living beings, including Shiva and Brahma and everyone, into the material energy. Right. But it's not manifest. Oh. Then when it starts to manifest from the Lord's pores of his body and breathing, right, then the seeds of the universe come up into that material energy, and then it starts to coagulate again around these seeds of the universe. And from there, he enters into each universe as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Right. And then the energies which are meant to be in each universe, and the souls which are meant to be in the universe, including the forms of Shiva and Brahma and everyone else, are there, but in a subtle form. And they come from that, through the pipe, right, the navel pipe, right, up into that, and they enter into that lotus flower, lotus stem, just like a flower. It grows from a stem, and then the flower comes out at the end. So all the things that are in the flower come from the root and the stem. So similarly, in the process of universal creation, from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who is the root, comes the stem, and then within the stem, all these energies are there. So they're there, but they're not manifest. Then when Brahma comes out, then everything is manifested externally in the universe from the form of Brahma. And how that happens, that Shiva comes from Brahma, is the Kumaras are the first creation. And Brahma then asks them to populate the universe. And they say, no, I don't think we want to do that. We want to stay brahmacharis. And then Brahma, he got a little angry because he's the creator, so he has to create. So passion is there. So sometimes when his activities are thwarted, he becomes a little angry because he's tinged. And then when he was angry, from his forehead, Shiva came. And that's how he came into the universe. Right. So therefore it's describing that from Narayana came Brahma, and from Brahma came Shiva. Is that clear?
Thank you. Now I recollect, I heard this before.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's why we have to hear again and again. We read from before things from Prabhupada. When we first started reading the Gita, first few days, we were reading how Prabhupada often said that the Gita is a amrita, transcendental literature. So even if you've heard it a lot, you have to continue hearing. Because why? Because time causes us to forget. That's it. It's the force of time. If we don't keep hearing, we'll forget. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Text 9. Machchita madgata prana bodhiyantak parasparam katayantas jamam nityam tushanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Purport. Pure devotees, whose characteristics are mentioned here, engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Repeating. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing Him with other devotees. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself, and in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of God. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection which is exhibited by the Lord in His abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of a living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe, and out of them there are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is just like a seed, and if it is sown in the heart of a living entity, and he goes on hearing and chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That seed fructifies, just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahma-Jyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky also, that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Goloka, Vrindavan, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as the plant grows fruits and flowers, that plant of devotional service also produces fruits, and the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. This plant of devotional service is fully described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 19. It is explained there that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God. Then he cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord, just as a fish cannot live without water. In such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narrations about the relationship between the Supreme Lord and His devotees. Therefore the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees. As stated in the Bhagavatam itself, Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yat Vaishnavanam Priyam. In this narration there is nothing about material activities, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and His devotees is fully described. Thus the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures, just as a young boy and girl take pleasure in association. Text 10. Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadhami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Purport. In this verse, the word buddhi yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the second chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjuna, said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of buddhi yoga. Now buddhi yoga is explained. Buddhi yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called buddhi yoga. In other words, buddhi yoga is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life, but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal of life is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but if he is still not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be done with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to Him. Jai Shri Krishna. Text 11. This is the last of the seed verses. Tesham evanukam partam aham agyanajam tamaha nashayam yatma bhavasto jnana deepina vasvata. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Purport. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares, promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, thousands of people were following him. Prakashananda Saraswati, a very influential and learned scholar in Benares at that time, derided Lord Chaitanya for being a sentimentalist. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. Actually, that is not the fact. There are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. The Mayavadi philosophers think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. For them, this answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education, and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme God, as stated in this verse. The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding the Supreme Truth, the Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, simply by speculating. For the Supreme Truth is so great that it is not possible to understand Him or to achieve Him simply by making a mental effort. Man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, if he is not a lover of the Supreme Truth, he will never understand Krishna or the Supreme Truth. Only by devotional service is the Supreme Truth, Krishna, pleased, and by his inconceivable energy, he can reveal himself to the heart of the pure devotee. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. Due to the contamination of material association, through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad-gita. By studying Bhagavad-gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. Hare Krishna. So now, Arjuna is going to respond, and Prabhupada told us many, many times that this is the proper way to understand the Gita. If we can understand the Gita the way Arjuna understands the Gita, then we can actually go forward in our spiritual life. Arjuna uvacha Padam Brahma Padam Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shaswatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhum Ahus Tvam Rishiyak Sarve Devarshir Naradastata Asito Devalo Vyasak Swayam Chaiva Brivishime. Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth, You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages, such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa, confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. Purport. In these two verses, the Supreme Lord gives a chance to the Mayavadi philosopher, for here it is clear that the Supreme is different from the individual soul. Arjuna, after hearing the essential 4 verses of Bhagavad-gita in this chapter, became completely free from all doubts and accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He at once boldly declares, "You are Param Brahma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead." And previously, Krishna stated that he is the originator of everything and everyone. Every demigod and every human being is dependent on him. Men and demigods, out of ignorance, think that they are absolute and independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That ignorance is removed perfectly by the discharge of devotional service. This has already been explained in the previous verse by the Lord. Now, by His grace, Arjuna is accepting Him as the Supreme Truth, in concordance with the Vedic injunction. It is not that because Krishna is Arjuna's intimate friend, Arjuna is flattering him by calling him the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth. Whatever Arjuna says in these 2 verses is confirmed by Vedic truth. Vedic injunctions affirm that only one who takes to devotional service to the Supreme Lord can understand Him, whereas others cannot. Each and every word of this verse spoken by Arjuna is confirmed by Vedic injunction. In the Kena Upanishad, it is stated that the Supreme Brahman is the rest for everything, and Krishna has already explained that everything is resting on Him. The Mundaka Upanishad confirms that the Supreme Lord, in whom everything is resting, can be realized only by those who engage constantly in thinking of Him. This constant thinking of Krishna is smaranam, one of the methods of devotional service. It is only by devotional service to Krishna that one can understand His position and get rid of this material body. In the Vedas, the Supreme Lord is accepted as the purest of the pure. One who understands that Krishna is the purest of the pure can become purified from all sinful activities. One cannot be disinfected from sinful activities unless he surrenders unto the Supreme Lord. Arjuna's acceptance of Krishna as the Supreme Pure complies with the injunctions of Vedic literature. This is also confirmed by great personalities, of whom Narada is the chief. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one should always meditate upon Him and enjoy one's transcendental relationship with Him. He is the Supreme Existence. He is free from bodily needs, birth, and death. Not only does Krishna confirm this, but all the Vedic literatures, the Puranas, and histories. In all Vedic literatures, Krishna is thus described, and the Supreme Lord Himself also says in the 4th chapter, "Although I am unborn, I appear on this earth to establish religious principles." He is the supreme origin. He has no cause, for He is the cause of all causes, and everything is emanating from Him. This perfect knowledge can be had by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Here Arjuna expresses himself through the grace of Krishna. If we want to understand Bhagavad-gita, we should accept the statements in these 2 verses. This is called the Parampara system, acceptance of the disciplic succession. Unless one is in the disciplic succession, he cannot understand Bhagavad-gita. It is not possible by so-called academic education. Unfortunately, those proud of their academic education, despite so much evidence in the Vedic literatures, stick to their obstinate conviction that Krishna is an ordinary person. Text 14. One more verse. Okay. Sarvam etad ritam manye yanmam vadasi keshava nahite bhagavan vyaktyam vidur deva nadanava. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality. Purport. Arjuna herein confirms that persons of faithless and demonic nature cannot understand Krishna. He is not known even by the demigods, so what to speak of these so-called scholars of this modern world? By the grace of the Supreme Lord, Arjuna has understood that the Supreme Truth is Krishna, and that He is the Perfect One. One should therefore follow the path of Arjuna. He received the authority of Bhagavad-gita. As described in the 4th chapter, the parampara system of disciplic succession for the understanding of the Bhagavad-gita was lost, and therefore Krishna re-established that disciplic succession with Arjuna because he considered Arjuna his intimate friend and a great devotee. Therefore, as stated in our introduction to Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad-gita should be understood in the parampara system. When the parampara system was lost, Arjuna was selected to rejuvenate it. The acceptance by Arjuna of all that Krishna says should be emulated. Then we can understand the essence of Bhagavad-gita. Then only can we understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we'll stop there, and tomorrow we'll hear Arjuna ask Krishna to tell him how he's supposed to think of him. That's the next step. How to think of Krishna. And he'll give examples of all kinds of wonderful manifestations in this material world and how they represent Krishna. Okay, let's have some reflections from the sages present.
The seed verses.
Bhakta John is asking about the seed verses.
Now, those were the first things given, those first 4 verses.
Well, all of these literatures are transcendental sounds, and they are therefore always existing. But sometimes they come into the universe, and sometimes they are unmanifest. We say manifest and then unmanifest. And the way they're manifest sometimes appears as if one is coming before another. It's just the way they're entering. The first sound was Omkara. That Omkara is ascribed to be the sound of Krishna's flute entering into the ear of Brahma. The Vedas, all of these books are, except for Mahabharata and Vedanta Sutra, those were compiled by Vyasadeva in this particular Kali Yuga. But the Bhagavad-gita is not just a chapter in the literature of Vyasadeva. It's also eternal, as it says in the beginning, in the 4th chapter, that Lord Krishna explained it to the sun god many, many hundreds of millions of years ago. And then it comes down, and then over time, sometimes it's forgotten. And then Krishna has to come again, or he has to send representatives who reinvigorate it and reintroduce it into human society. In this way it continues, it never disappears completely. But when the whole universe is drawn back up, into the body of Vishnu, then those sounds also go back into the body of Vishnu. They're there, but they're unmanifest. So when they come out in the form of Omkara. And you haven't studied very much yet, but you'll see that in all the Vedic scriptures, the word Om comes first. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Tad Brahma Padamam Padam Sada Suyanti Yat Surya. So this Omkara is what we call the seed sound, and all the other it's contained within that seed sound. It's the syllable that represents Krishna. It's an impersonal representation of Krishna in sound. Sound representation of Krishna, and it is contained within the Hare Krishna mantra. That's why the Hare Krishna mantra is considered to be the Mahamantra, the great mantra, greatest mantra. So then from that Omkara comes the Brahma Gayatri. Gayatri is the first hymn. And then from that, gradually, all the other hymns of the Vedas come into the universe. Some of them are brought into the universe by the rishis, the 7 rishis that was mentioned in this verse in the 10th chapter. The first rishis, they are mind-born sons of Brahma, and they have the capacity. They're not ordinary rishis. There's 2 kinds of rishis. There's these rishis, the original rishis, mind-born rishis of Brahma. They can sit and meditate and bring those Vedic mantras from the sound, the original sound, through their hearts into the world. But the essence of it is brought by Brahma. And then they're passed down through their disciples, and that way they come down and come into the whole universe. So the 4 seed verses of the Bhagavatam were given by Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vyasadeva, and in this way it expanded into the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is the essence of all the other Vedas. The Bhagavatam, that's why Prabhupada always mentions the Gita and the Bhagavatam together, because when you get, I'm talking to John now, when you get to the Bhagavatam and you start reading how the Bhagavad-gita is unpacked by the Bhagavatam, then you'll recognize that the verses in the 9th chapter that we just finished reading, where it describes how the length of the days of Brahma and the ages, and how when Brahma goes to sleep, they're all annihilated, the 3 worlds, and then they come back when he wakes up. All these verses of the Gita described by Krishna are seeds, and they're unpacked in the Bhagavatam, and all the details of how that happens, and details of what goes on during that process of creation and annihilation, and the different kinds of annihilation, they're all described in detail. So then, gradually, as you read these literatures, your consciousness is expanded, and you can see more and more deeply the glories of the Lord. And as you get the details, then your faith, Prabhupada mentioned it in the purport, the more one hears and understands just how great Krishna is and how he enters into this material world. And then we'll hear in the 11th chapter how Krishna actually shows Arjuna. This is a form that was never seen by any person in the material world before. He shows Arjuna how he's actually entered into the material universes. He shows him the whole universe in all its aspects while he's sitting in one place. And no human being can see that. But he gives him Yogamaishwaram. He gives him divine vision. Pashyami Yogamaishwaram. I'll give you now divine vision so you can see this. So, like that. The Vedas are sound, eternal sound, which contain the codes of how the universe is unfolded and constructed. So every time it's constructed more or less in the same way. It's like when you have your electrical installations, and you know where things are because there's a blueprint. I don't know how they do it exactly in the electrical world, but there's a plan, and it's put together in the way that fits the blueprint or fits the plan. So the universe is like that. And the plan is given in the Vedas.
And when we build a building, sometimes they're like a target, it's similar. We call it a cookie cutter.
Yeah, exactly. There's a very good point. Our acharyas say that it doesn't make sense if you're going to build a house, they make a plan, 3 or 4 plans for the floor plans for the house. And then you can make certain changes, different colors of this, or, put different colors of things, or whatever. But the basic plan is the same. So the universe is like that. The basic thing is the same. Not everything is exactly the same every time it's created, but the basic plan is the same. There's always 7 sages. There's always a Brahma in every universe. Yes, Hannah, please.
Okay, so you said...
So I said...
Everything
that's material. Of course, I didn't say this, Krishna said, but okay.
Everything that's material can't really be...
Anything that's material can't really be
the essence of
like the essence of Krishna himself.
Only through devotional service can we know.
Only through devotional service can we know.
But whenever we go through these ages...
But whenever we go through these ages...
The golden age, does the material become...
Whenever we go through these golden ages, does the material change?
Not the material change, but obviously the material does change to be in Krishna's image of what we should be, right? So I just have how do we have a golden age, but there's
Okay.
still...
Okay. So when the universe is first created, the goodness is predominant. The mode of goodness is predominant. The other modes are there, but they're less dominant. It's like you're artists. So you've got these 3 colors: yellow, blue, and red. Those are the 3 basic colors. And you combine those colors and you get millions of colors, all the different colors you can paint on a canvas. So the modes of nature are like that, only they're 3-dimensional and they have everything is included in them. And gradually they develop or they transform into all the forms that we see, and the tastes and the smells and the sounds and sense organs and all these things, all the parts that make up the universe. So in the beginning of the universe, goodness is prominent. Like in the palette, if you put the yellow and practically nothing, no other color, and no more blue, a little blue or little, not very much, then you get something very light. And as you put blue and as you put red, then it gets darker and darker and darker until it becomes black, which is on the other side. So the Satya Yuga, as the ages progress, the Satya Yuga is predominantly in goodness. And therefore the energy that makes up the forms and the trees and the water and everything is very potent, because goodness is more potent. And there was no need for agriculture, and there was no need for, systematic organization of cities and educational institutions and all this. Everyone was born with yogic abilities. Everyone could meditate from the beginning of their lives, and they would meditate in order to realize God. And they didn't have to work so hard, because one fruit off a tree was so potent that they could just eat that one fruit of a tree and they were good for the day. But then as the souls in material bodies work in the material world, gradually the actions and reactions of their activities gradually introduces more passion and more ignorance. And as the ages go, from golden age then to the silver age, the Treta Yuga, then the modes of passion come in more. And then passion and ignorance come in more in Dwapara Yuga. And then Kali Yuga, it's practically all ignorance. And goodness is not very prominent. So therefore, now we can see what's happening. You know, the air is being polluted, water is being polluted, the forests are getting burned down or misused. I just read an article where they're finding plastic in there. You know, you go. Of course, we don't go to restaurants and we don't eat fish, but if we did, we could, you know, have some plastic along with it. It's getting that bad, and the air that you breathe in some cities are so bad that you may stop smoking cigarettes, but then you smoke the equivalent of 2 packs of cigarettes just by breathing the air. Because we share the air. The air that we share, there's only a certain number of molecules in the universe.
So, whenever we go through these ages, do all planets go through them at the same time?
Yes, but the higher planets are more subtle. The forms are more subtle, the energy is more subtle, it's more in goodness. And the top of the universe, they don't go through the changes. That the 3 worlds, Om Bhur Bhuva, the Bhur Bhuva Swa, those 3 planetary systems are the ones that are destroyed at the end of Brahma's day. And the planets higher than that, Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka, and those planetary systems, they stay. They only get destroyed at the end of Brahma's life. So the personalities who live there, they have very, very long lives. They have very high standards of living. They don't experience suffering like we do. But they are aware of what's going on in the lower planetary systems, and they feel compassion. And sometimes some of them come down and try to help.
I think I'm understanding what she's asking. Maybe is like, so if demigods live 10,000 years for our 100 years, then
Robert is explaining to
then maybe
what Hannah's asking,
then maybe in
or a part of it.
Yuga, would if humans lived for 1,000 years or more, would demigods or beings in higher planetary systems have an even expanded life because of the age of the universe? I guess not, because it's a universal.
Your question, you're halfway giving an answer and a question, and your answers are confused, and therefore your question is confused. I don't understand what you're asking.
So
you have to ask a clear question. What's the question?
Would beings in higher planetary systems?
Every living being lives for 100 years. An ant lives for 100 years, according to his time. We live 100 years because of our time. That 100 years also varies according to the ages we're living in. But in general, the 100 years duration is relative in each place.
So where we're at.
Yes, what kind of body you have.
Okay, got it.
So Brahma also lives for 100 years.
But to us, it would seem
To us, it's 311 trillion years.
Okay, I got it.
It's so long that we can't even conceive of it. Therefore, it's hard for us to compute. Our brains can't compute that there's somebody who lives for 311 trillion years. No, I don't think so.
That is one breath of Vishnu.
And that's one breath of Vishnu.
I just think that
You think?
I think that Krishna's creation is beautiful, and
She thinks that Krishna's creation is beautiful. One hit for one strike already. You're doing good. 1 for 1.
And I just wondered if it was possible for the creation to be in unity without being.
No.
Okay.
Because the universe is a place where souls come who want to live, who want to try to live separate from Krishna. They want to try to enjoy and to control and to own something. Actually, Krishna is the owner of everything. And in the spiritual world, everyone acknowledges that and lives in the full joy of pleasing Krishna with all the energy which all belongs to him.
And that's why it says that the only way that we'll find happiness is to
Exactly.
take care and give devotional service to.
Yes. And not only that, but Krishna is so wonderful that he can turn any form he wants from matter to spirit and vice versa. So when we perform devotional service properly and worship the deity, for example, properly, and chant the holy name properly, and use the things, even like we're using the phone, this fancy phone, to do this live stream out into the world, all these things are being spiritualized. And that's the Krishna consciousness movement. The Krishna consciousness movement is trying to spiritualize the world by reconnecting the things that actually belong to Krishna in Krishna service to Krishna, giving them to Krishna. That's the essence of devotional service. To use your body, to use the things of the world and use them in Krishna service. And that way the energy changes by Krishna's will from matter to spirit. And what's the proof of that? The proof of that is when we touch it, it has a different effect. Like all of us know that. We take prasadam. When you take prasadam that's actually offered with love to Krishna, it feels different. And not only that, it has a different effect on our consciousness.
And like all scenarios do once it's like that.
Yes.
Like you could be using your phone and be miserable because you're on Facebook for yourself, but if you're on Facebook and you're
Yes.
it feels good.
Yeah, that's what we're doing here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's our pleasure. Okay, now the only thing left to do now, of course, there's much more to do, much more to learn. But when you start to share it, sharing means caring. When you learn these things and then you look out at the world with the knowledge you're getting and you see just how much people are suffering. Because while we're in it, it's hard for us to see how the people are suffering. When you step out of it a little bit and get into devotional service and hear all these wonderful details about how the universe was created and how Krishna is transforming his energies and how we can purify the world and go back to the spiritual world and live in a spiritual body that doesn't have to die or grow old or be in ignorance, then you want to share it. And as soon as you start sharing it, it grows. Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, Lord Chaitanya says. Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. The ocean of transcendental bliss is always expanding.
Is it possible for us to take our suffering and be
Is it possible for us to take our sufferings and be possibly grateful
and rather than be resentful of those things because
Wow.
they are for our spiritual advancement?
Do you remember the verse? Where's your Gita? Look up your Gita, chapter 3,
Oh, I like it right on chapter 3.
text 31. I think so. I hope it's 31. 30 or 31. Purport, towards the end.
I underlined it.
Well, how about that?
Should I read it?
Yes. In the beginning.
In the beginning of
Ah.
consciousness,
It,
one may
wait,
have
read it louder.
a little bit louder.
Yeah, like real loud, so we can hear it through the microphone.
In the beginning of Krishna consciousness, one may not fully discharge the injunctions of the Lord, but because one is not resentful of this principle and works sincerely without consideration of defeat and hopelessness, he will surely be promoted to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness.
So this is what this means is that you're reading these books and you're underlining, and you can't remember it all at once, and we can't remember everything, but we can gradually. I'm talking from 46 years of doing this. That's 18 times 3 to 18 times. Anyway, it's about 3 times longer than you've been alive. We've been reading these books, and we're no different than you. Actually, you're sharp. You're very intelligent and pure-hearted. Yeah. So this is the process. You keep reading, you keep underlining or try to understand, even if you're not a scholar, even if you can't remember. But if you kind of learn where things are, then you can go to them and point them out. And then your questions are answered, and they become deeper and deeper. The answers become deeper and deeper, and your realizations become more specific and more precise. And then you see things more and more clearly. That's spiritual enlightenment. That's called the assimilation of knowledge. You have to assimilate this knowledge, apply it into your daily life. When Krishna talks about how to be equipoised, when something happens to you that winds you up, you have to learn, no, I don't think so. I don't want to go there. Remember the last time I got wound up? For 3 months, I was just complete anxiety. No, I'm not going there. Like that, you just gradually learn, and then you'll become more and more fixed. And eventually people will come to you for knowledge. Hare Krishna. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Wow, 8:14. Okay. Oh, thank you very much, everybody out in cyberspace. It worked today. It's still working. Yeah, we made the change from the Wi-Fi to the telephone, and now it's working great. So you can expect that every night it's going to be perfect. Yes. So you should come and join and share it, and turn everybody on to this Bhagavad-gita as it is. When I say as it is, I mean hearing it straight, all the way through, from Prabhupada's lips. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad-gita as it is ki jai. Samaveta Bhakti.